If you're a business owner of a $1 million to $6 million business, your marketing sucks. People have this ridiculous assumption that they know marketing because they think they know what they're attracted to. And what you get is slop going out there, confusing messages, and then thousands of dollars of wasted revenue. I remember talking to a colleague of mine who runs a real estate company. He paid $5,000 for some dudes to come in and do like some professional videography or whatever, and the video sucked, but that money was sunk. So welcome back to another episode of Chad T Podcast. This is the show for business owners that run businesses that are 1 million to 6 million, and they want to grow them to $12 million. I'm your host, Chad T. Let's get into it. So why should you care about this? The bottom line is your business wants to make money. I used to tell founders that I coached back in the day, you're not in business until you get $1 from someone who's not your auntie, your mama, or your best friend. So marketing should be about making money back. And I'm gonna say something crazy that no marketing professional will ever tell you. Marketing is lead generation. Don't buy into any of these confusing definitions or like fancy books on it. In fact, the best book I ever paid money for was called Your Marketing Sucks. It was a college class. The college class was probably $1,300, and it pointed to a little $30 book called Your Marketing Sucks. And I'll put a screenshot of it on this shot. But marketing is for generating leads, and sales is for closing those leads. And when you're in a sophisticated organization like the larger ones that I work with, you have this process of generating marketing qualified leads. So they're going to measure their success on what they determine to be a qualified lead. And then they're comped on what sales accepts as a qualified lead. Then everyone can start bickering. My brother's a great sales guy. I'm friend with lots of other sales guys, and I've run these marketing operations teams for almost a dozen years now. There's a lot of back and forth between whether the MQLs were good, the SQLs were no good, or the salespeople sucked at closing them and the marketing sucked. But anyway, I have lots of stories here about how marketing fails frequently because people aren't doing it intentionally. And this isn't a course on direct response marketing, to be clear. I do agree that every dollar you spend on marketing should bring you $3 back, but there are different courses like of the likes of Dan Kennedy, Russell Brunson, that will tell you specifically what direct response marketing is. What I want you to understand as the business owner is we're going in and trying to create nickel boxes. This is the idea that if you put a nickel in something, you crank the handle a couple times, the little jack in the box pops out and then a dime comes out the bottom. So if you had a nickel box, how many times would you crank on it? The answer is as many times as possible. I'm gonna run through 17 lessons that I learned the hard way. And what I mean by hard way is spending thousands of dollars at a time on this and then watching that drift into the wind. I remember one time I was a recruiter for the Coast Guard in Manhattan, and they gave me advertising budget. The New York Post reached out to me. It was like, hey, you wanna run an ad? It was either a quarter page or a half page. And I ran it up the powers that be in DC, and they gave me some budget and we ran it. And so I spent $5,000 to run a little quarter page ad of our target demographic. She was in this cool Coast Guard picture. And then I got all these horrible calls from the New York Post target demographic. So I completely dumped $5,000 on the ground and got no results in return. Does that make sense? And again, if you're paying attention, this is also the key reason why a lot of your marketing fails, because you're hiring people that don't have to spend their own money. In fact, I have a little bonus lesson at the end of this. That's exactly that. You don't learn any of this until you spend your own money with it. So 17 lessons that I learned the hard way. The first one is your marketing sucks, but you think it's good. And I see this all the time in the $1 million to $6 million service businesses because they buy into things like, oh, I'm just gonna put a hot girl on the advertisement, or let's just put a bunch of big bold letters. And then like they'll run this ad, they have no way of even tracking it. So you're literally spending thousands of dollars in magazines or mailers, or you're boosting posts all over Facebook and Instagram, and you don't know where those dollars are going or if anyone's even calling you from those ads. So I want you to hear this with conviction, actually. Your marketing sucks. Now, the good news is you don't have to be a genius to get past it. There are things like split testing, and honestly, it's all about the split testing, but there's things like unique links that you can put on your advertising, special landing pages. You can go into Squarespace now, spend $10, $20, set up a brand new landing page. I've got a real estate client doing this right now. He's got 3 different domains, so you always know where the domain traffic's coming from. But you need to understand that your marketing sucks. And this is important also because the quicker you realize that your marketing sucks, the quicker you'll put it out into the market so you can figure out what parts suck, so you can start testing, getting better results, and trying different creatives, all right? Okay, number 2, the most successful stuff is rarely obvious. And again, everyone just seems to think that if you put an attractive woman or a baby on the ad, that you're going to make money. Sometimes you'll get attention, but that attention is not necessarily money. Do you know what I mean? I was running a dating niche and I had ads where my wife was in a pool. My wife is a smoking hot Latina. I'll put a screenshot of the ad there. And what I was trying to talk to men about how their approach was horrible with women. None of the men would read. They just saw a smoking hot girl in a pool, even though it said in clear letters, um, I am so and so. I went by Chad T also on that one, talking to them, and the auto chat was saying, "This is Chad Tabry, comma a guy," and I would give them the pitch essentially. They would shoot their shot all the time. You're like, "Oh, send me another picture. I want to see if you're a real girl." But anyway, the point is, the obvious stuff doesn't win. If you follow my stories on Instagram, I put in 3 screenshots of ads the other day that are all relatively the same. I'll put them on this video also. They're all relatively the same. They're just a guy that looks like he's a little overwhelmed running his business, and one of them is an AI-generated version of me, and then the other 2 are AI-generated versions. There's not much different besides what's in the background. Maybe like one guy has a beard. All right, well, one of those particular ads got 100% cheaper in ad results. That means it was some of them were coming for 40, and this one started hitting at 20 cents. So I like to tell business owners, if you could just stand on a corner and give 2 dimes to someone and let them hear your value proposition, is that worth your money? And the answer is it's worth your money. But you don't always know what works until you run a couple things side by side. So 20 cents difference is a gigantic difference. That means if you spent $1,000, I'm horrible at the math on the fly. I'm going to flop on this. But you got essentially 2 times the amount of viewers that you did on that other advertisement. And 40 cents doesn't seem like a lot until you're comparing it to 20 cents. Does that make sense? All right. Number 3, data wins. Marketing to me, and maybe that's just because I'm an ops guy, and maybe that's because all I care about is your revenue. So data to me is what this is all about. I like reading these old marketing books. Like if you go back and find Dan Kennedy, if you go back and find any of the stuff from the 1900s, the names are drawing a blank, but if I remember some, I'll put them in the video description. Think about this. They would have to spend thousands of dollars sometimes. In fact, I was listening to a podcast with Dean Graziosi the other day, who was really big in infomercials. Could you imagine having to spend $100,000 on an infomercial before you even figured out if it was going to win or not? All right, but now you can go in a world of YouTube ads, Facebook ads, running stuff just on Instagram or just on Facebook, getting into LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter even. You can run $100 and get clear results. This is big, and I want you to really think about the power of that. What you get is data about what words worked better, what headlines work better. In the dating niche, there's very unobvious stuff. If I used gender-specific pronouns in the dating niche when I was in it, the views would tank. But if I had why they're ghosting you instead, it would do great. Now, granted, that has some political connotations, and that's not what I'm trying to unpack. But my point is, there was the initial thought of, oh, I've got a good idea. And then there was the data that said that idea sucks. And when you do this idea right next to it, this idea is much better. Well, what it did with the data coming back is you learn. Here's another thing. There's a guy named Omar El Takrori, and I reference his content materials sometimes. He has a little slogan that says, get your business the attention it deserves. In fact, I've borrowed that sometimes. Well, he knows it works because he's run ads. He knows it's worked because he's paid attention to his target demographic, asking him questions. And then when he runs the ads, that stuff outperformed. So that's really the power and the magic when you start running these different creatives. I know now that one particular image of the guy with the beard is going to crush everything else. So run some more of it. All right. Number 4. There's not actually anything new in marketing. This goes back to what I was talking about with some of the older books. I think about a programming class I took as a college class a long time ago. It was Java. It's not a very useful programming tool, but it helps you learn logic. And the professor one day pointed out that there's like this 4-inch thick book and it's got all the math problems solved. And think about if you've ever had to use Excel and do like an end of month formula or some special formula that subtracts 4 digits to get you in a specific pattern of numbers. Do you know what I mean? Those problems have all been solved already. You don't have to like engineer some special solution for this. So the same thing in marketing. We know that health, wealth, and relationships, that's the only 3 markets that there actually are. In fact, there's, I feel bad for not remembering specifically. I'm pretty sure one of Russell Brunson's guys was talking about the shaving cream, whoever has the Mach 3. Anyway, they were running an ad with like a chiseled jaw, attractive dude, and he was shaving, and everyone was asking, okay, what bucket is that ad falling in? And when you really paid attention, that bucket was actually in the relationship bucket. The idea was that if you were clean shaven, he went out, and then all these attractive women were like, ooh, look at that. So same thing too, if you're in a home services industry, which is mainly what I help, people are still looking for ways to gain status, make more money, which the investment guy, the investment property builder, this is where he falls, or they want to find the love of their life, or they want to live longer or not be in pain when they're walking, etc. Health, wealth, and relationships. So what that means is that while you do need to spend strategic time thinking about your business, like what your core message is, what the pain points are of your target demographic, you're really not reinventing the wheel. Do you know what I mean? If you can have an attractive woman interviewing you, okay, so that's not entirely thirst trap, but if she's attractive interviewing you, people are going to watch that video longer. If you are on the beach and you're doing a little talk with your friend or talking about the Airbnbs that you have just up the property. In fact, I'm at Panama City Beach right now, which is a little washed out in the glass, but still it creates curiosity. People look at this stuff. They're thinking about status. They're thinking about wealth. They're thinking about resources that they want to have more access to. Does that make sense? So nothing new in marketing. All right, number 5. This one is the most important to me when I talk to business owners. Business owners mistake the creative for the marketing. And my message back to you is that the creative, and what I mean by creative is the flyer, the graphic designers for your flyer, or the people who created some video for you, that's not the marketing. Remember, marketing's job in your business is to generate leads. Go look from some of my other videos on the quote to cash process, but right in the top left of that sphere, you want to generate traffic to your offer. You want to generate leads. You want people to hit your landing page and find out that you install gutters on houses. And then you want to close those leads and convert them into orders, purchase orders. So that's your whole quote to cash cycle right there on the generating leads, sending out offers. Then you need to fulfill the service, and then you need to collect the money. But my point is, I don't care. Here's an example of bad creative. There is a HVAC service in my area in St. Tammany Parish in Louisiana. And every once in a while, I need to send an advertisement to this guy. Every once in a while, he runs an ad where there's this stock footage, which looks like garbage to begin with, of a woman in a bra and panties, looks like a Victoria's Secrets model that never quite made it to Victoria's Secrets. And she's holding a crappy spinning fan. And then the headline says, it's not always good to have a hot wife. So there's a lot of problems with that headline. 1, because it doesn't make any sense. It's very good to have a hot wife. 2, it takes too much mental brain power to figure out, oh, he's making a pun. He means you don't want your air conditioner to go out. In fact, if I could retool that, I might send him this as a video. Dang it, man. I know I could come up with something better. All right, I don't want to burn too much time on this. I'll have to find it later. Okay, but my point is, did it create brand awareness? Does he have a lot of vans running around town? Are people going to remember him because of it? Maybe, so like if at the end of the day, if you're getting calls and you can track it back to that hot woman with the fan, maybe it's working. It's just not as helpful as showing images of success of maybe a more modestly attractive wife and a husband who's like high-fiving the dude after he fixed their AC for him. And then the wife's kind of unbuttoning some of her clothes. Does that make sense? Now it is a good thing to have a hot wife. So anyway, we'll come back to that. All right, number 6. The branding makes the name and not vice versa. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because I've done a lot of campaign launching with service industries. And again, a real estate client right now, he's running something called Investment Build Properties. It's a great name, by the way. But I remember trying to help a restaurant owner get a domain name, and he kept coming out with these gigantic long names, and then he'd overthink it. Does it have this keyword or whatever? Let me tell you something ridiculous. I was born in 1982. If you remember a band called Limp Bizkit, they were an alt-rock band, and then another band called Korn with the K. These guys sold what? Millions of dollars of records? So let me be very clear. If you can have a name of Limp Bizkit and misspelled Korn and go wildly successful, nobody cares if your product's called Acme or Diet Coke or Coke Zero Sugar or Red Water or Blue Water. It's the branding that makes the name. People eventually realize that Chad T is somebody, or Acme Real Estate Investments made me $1 million on top of my cash. Does that make sense? Now all of a sudden you have a brand worth having. Okay. Number 7, concise beats clever, over and over and over. And now I don't want you to mistake this to think that the words don't matter. The words do matter. And sometimes there are better word choices, which people would argue are clever. But what I'm saying is, if you're selling an AC checkup for $1,000, the concise headline is, get cooler now for $1,000, or AC repairs starting at $1,000. That almost always outperforms, it's not always good to have a hot wife, or don't want your house burning down, call me, or sweating too much in the summer, call me. It's just, people try to get super clever with this stuff, and you gotta go remember rule number 1. What was rule number 1? Your marketing sucks. So go concise, tell people need to know within milliseconds what your offer is. If they have to invest brain power in it, they already don't like you. If you go read David M. Buss, it's called Evolutionary Psychology. The whole point in that is people don't wanna waste calories. We are bred for thousands of years, if not hundreds of thousands of years, to conserve our energy. So when we have to stare at a headline and be like, is it a painting service, a gutter service? Are they doing ACs? What do they mean, I don't want a hot wife? I love hot wives. I'm sorry, I'm beating this guy up. They bounce on you, they leave. You know, nobody's sticking around for trying to figure out what your Wordle game means. So concise beats clever, over and over again. All right, number 8. This one is huge for the service people. You are not the hero in your story. Nobody cares about you. Let me be way more specific about this. My name is Chad Tabry. If this is your first time in this video, you don't give a hot dang about me. You don't care who I am. You don't care how I spell my last name. You don't care that you're probably mispronouncing my last name. You don't care that I wear black polos. You don't care that I'm in Panama City Beach right now in a gigantic conference room that's empty, shooting with the beach behind me and a washed out screen. You don't care. What you care is to figure out very rapidly if I can make you more money or save you some pain in your business. And if I'm talking to you well enough and you're like, okay, maybe this guy has been doing it for 12 years. Maybe this guy did work in the military in high op-tempo environments. Maybe this guy did work in $700 million companies and knows a thing or two about quote to cash and saving me some money. And maybe this guy can get me from $1 million to $12 million. Let's pay attention for a little bit. Nobody cares about you. So what you have to, and listen, this is what I'm saying. What I'm telling you is that you need to buy into the story brand framework. In fact, I have recommended this book for real estate agents, loan officers. I have a friend who runs a social club in South Carolina. How cool is that? He read that thing. The person watching this video, to be clear, you are the hero in my story. I am the guide. And that's that whole book in a nutshell, which is still worth reading. And also, let's look it up because I freaking love this book. I've literally bought this book, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. Donald Miller. Let's see if the camera picks this up. Bam, look at that handsome fellow. Donald Miller, outstanding book. I've read that thing 3 times myself, recommended it at least a dozen times. So his whole point, though, is stop talking about yourself. I run faceless pages for my business now to generate some traffic, and I see some of these other guys that are starting the faceless pages. They'll put in there like 500 followers, thank you, 1,000 followers. Nobody cares, man. Fitness trainers are horrible at this. Like, stop talking about yourself. Like, granted, your biceps are great, but talk about, like, in fact, I need a trainer. If the trainer came through and like, look at my client's biceps, I feel super cool now. I'm the hero in his story, just like you're the hero in my story, and I'm your guide. By the way, if you're liking this episode, please hit like and subscribe, share it with a friend, and if you want to help revamp your business, reach out to me in the comments. Let's talk some more. You are my hero. I'm going to be your guide. Okay, number 9, expensive sells better. This one fascinates me because I truly do work with business owners that make $1 million to $6 million. And I think people misunderstand that. A lot of business owners and founders that have $1 million to $6 million, they're broke. They can barely pay their mortgage. They're leasing all their company vehicles, they're maxed out on credit cards. So people who aren't in the service business world, they tend to think, oh, I'm talking about like some 90% margin info product coach making $6 million. No, man, if you're a coach making $6 million, high five to you. Reach out to me. I got some guys that want to talk to you. But my challenge is these guys try to start new initiatives and they go too cheap too fast. Like, they undersell it. I am fortunate. I have a high paying W-2 job. Companies pay me $200,000 to $300,000 a year to do sales and marketing operations. So when I'm working with the small businesses, the $1 to $6 million, I just don't care. We start off high because it makes the conversation easier. To be clear, we start off at the correct value. But when I meet someone else trying to sell something $500 that should be $5 to $10, nobody wants to buy it. Nobody trusts you. In fact, here's a random example. The other day I was talking to a guy here that just launched his own book. Well, he was selling it for like 99 cents on Kindle. And I was like, dude, I don't trust a Kindle book under $9. Like, I think it's a virus. I think it's spam. I think it's misspelled. Like, charge what you're worth. Go in there and charge more money. And back on the marketing world, if you charge more money for your services, you can advertise more. And at the end of the day, he who can advertise the longest wins. There's an old case study I did a long time ago on a blog. I'll have to find it and do it again here. There's a guy called Dan Smith Will Teach You Guitar. He had these flyers all over New York. Same exact flyer, not particularly good. That is a great headline, right? It's concise, right? What does Dan Smith do? Teaches you guitars. Who's the hero in that story? You are. Who's the guide? He is. So, it worked. It was effective, but it was everywhere, man. It was in the subways, telephone poles, light posts, the little don't walk signs, wherever. Everyone, it was a mystery as to how he got so many signs up. But my point was, it was just ubiquitous. That's sort of like saying it was everywhere you looked, all the time, whenever you looked there. And he made a lot of money teaching guitar. So, number 10, original almost always fails. Go back to rule number 1, your marketing sucks, and then go back to the data rule. Go back to rule number 3, data wins. It always wins. I was with a startup who ran an EDI service, and that's sort of like a catalog management, label management, and like it gets all your sweaters and physical goods into big stores like Walmart or JCPenney. And we were going to run ads. I was helping him set up his first set of ads. And the founder and like the lead sales guy, they kept arguing about, well, this headline sounds good, that headline sounds good. And at the end of the day, I was like, just frickin' test it, man. Your original ideas probably suck. Your marketing probably sucks. So what I tell you to do instead is go see what's already worked. How do you know if something's worked? If you're reading the Robb Report, it's a very luxury high-end magazine, and you happen to have consumed 5 months of that, and every single month there was this little ad for some sort of like credit card system, you would have to ask yourself, why does this person keep spending the $10,000 to $100,000 that it costs to run in the Robb Report, right? That's because he's making money. Why is he making money? Because his hook's working, his story's working, and his offer's working. You would be best to model that hook. You would be best to model that headline. And that doesn't mean copy, let's be very clear. But what I mean is let's go steal one right now. We're going to go back to StoryBrand because I already mentioned it. StoryBrand, not AI. Okay, I know it's going to be blurry on this, but on that screen it says, every business needs a message campaign that works. I steal from StoryBrand. I'm going to be honest with you right now. I want you guys to hire me. I want you guys to build trust and rapport. I want to help you launch your ad campaigns, and I want to revamp your operational so we make you more money and save you cash. So I would tell you, every business needs a message campaign that works. Every service business needs an ad strategy that works. In fact, I would test this now. I think service adds too much information. So every business needs an ad strategy that works. In fact, every business needs a messaging campaign that works. Every business needs a lead generation source that works. Just on and on, right? But am I going for original? No, I'm gonna swipe this. They call this swipe files. In fact, watch this. Bam, I just took a screenshot of it. I tell business owners this all the time too. When you're scrolling through Instagram, when you're scrolling through TikTok, wherever, or even on the internet, if something just stopped you for just a moment, hit the screenshot button, throw that in an album called Swipe File, or throw that in an album, mine's called Ad Swipes. It worked. It worked because it stopped you. It worked because Donald Miller has a lot of money to spend on marketing testing, more than me. So I follow, in trading, they call this follow the hammer. So I follow the stuff that works. Does that make sense? Okay. Number 11. We're getting kind of tactical here. Stick with me. I want to go through these. Hot chicks might get you more clicks, but they don't get you more money. You need to get out of the hot chick world as fast as possible. I love my dad to death. I've showed him ad campaigns sometimes, and the conversation always goes something like this. Hey, you know what you really need on there? And the answer is essentially like hot chick. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't work. I'm telling you, I've tested it. I got 5,000 follows to a mini farm, a micro farm in Colorado. We had a hot chick. She was bending over to grab eggs. It gets you a bunch of clicks, but these aren't qualified buyers. These aren't people that want to spend time at your farm. These are people that just want to stare at the hot chick. I've had my wife in the dating ads. I've had stock photos of attractive women in services. What was I running? Dang, I can't forget the offer. But I'm telling you, you're a guy, you're running your ad campaign. It's fun to go look at stock photos of attractive women and put them in your ads, but they're not getting you more money. I promise you, unless she's interviewing you, unless it's really you, unless like talking to you gets this person proximity to her, but it has to be real. It can't just be clickbait. You know what I mean? So number 12, only revenue matters. Okay, so in number 11, you like putting hot chicks in your ad. And number 12, it's not making you any more money. And only the revenue matters. What did I tell these new startup founders? You're not actually in business until you got $1 from someone who's not your auntie, your mama, your brother, your next of kin, or your little dog Jimmy. Do you know what I mean? Only the revenue matters. I can't preach the nickel box enough. I have a model where I charge you a startup fee to get your ads going. And if in 90 days we're not making you money, we don't do it anymore because only the revenue matters. So the offer's bad, or I did a bad job, or the ads didn't run enough, but only the revenue matters. Why are you in business right now? Tell me. Put that in the comments below, please. Why are you in business? To make money. Only the revenue matters, okay? Now, 13. Split testing makes you a genius. So what's rule number 1? Your marketing sucks. But if you go back to number 10, original almost always fails, and you go to sites that you respect and you model what's already working, and then you split test small little things like service business versus business, people will think you're a genius. I remember when I ran that story, the recent one with the 3 pictures, everyone's like all mystified. Wow, he just looked a little bit sadder, huh? I'm like, I don't know, man. It has nothing to do with looking more sad as far as I can tell. It's just one worked. You really don't know why these things work. I have seen things as simple as putting the headline up here or the headline down there. I've seen things where the crappy video outperformed the nice video. I've seen things where a 3-second shorter video, like for Reels, work better than a longer video. I've seen things where a longer video works. You don't know. You don't know until you test this. And if you test it frequently, all of a sudden people think you're a marketing genius. I can show you how to do that. Let's talk. Okay, number 14. Change one thing at a time. Yes, you have to split test. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I still make this mistake because I get impatient. When I get a new idea and I wanna run something ASAP, I just try to do everything at once. But you have to test one thing at a time. And here's another example. When I was just doing video shoots like this for other business owners. I had a little ad running in the 50-mile radius that was like a video shoot for 500 bucks. Well, it was the same exact ad, and I swiped this, to be clear, from Think Media. He had a great, Sean Cannell had a great little ad, and I just took a very similar concept and I put my face in the middle of it. All right, there was a red splash and a white splash behind my head, like a little star pattern. The white one outperformed. I don't know why. I don't care why. But if I would have changed like the words or the ad copy or put a hot girl on it or put a different face in there, you wouldn't know what drove that 20-cent change cost per click. Do you know what I mean? So change one thing at a time and let it run for at least 3 days or $100, whatever you're doing. People disagree with me. I would say I'm in a lower budget ad run for most of you guys. In fact, I know it. Most of you guys are not spending $100,000 a month on running ads. But a lot of you guys can spend like $100, $200, $1,000 a week. You can get an answer at $100. I don't know. People could say I'm wrong on that, but I get answers at $100. All right. 15, you're flying blind when you don't track. Same thing. People change stuff. They have a night to sleep on it. They look at it. They don't like it. They didn't give the data enough time to sink in. You have no idea what worked and what didn't. 16, you're not spending enough money. I just said this, same thing. You got to spend at least $100 to know what you're doing. Most people recommend $100 a day. If you are just dipping your toe in the water, you could spend 10 to 20 bucks a day. But I'm telling you, I've done this for everything from furniture stores to real estate guys. You want to be at least $100 a day, or you're just not getting the data that you want fast enough. And then 17, this one is unpopular for marketers, but remember, I am a sales ops guy. I'm a business ops guy. I don't care who likes this opinion or not. Sales will beat marketing. Now, here's the paradox. You might not have sales if you're not generating leads from marketing, but if you're a good sales guy and can go to an event and like shake hands and drum up business, it always beats marketing. So if you had $50,000 to spend right now or $100,000 to spend right now, and you knew that somebody was good at sales, I would hire the sales guy first and then start spending money on marketing. But if that's not an option, and trust me, if a guy's good at sales, he's much more expensive than 100 grand a year. If that's not an option, start spending money on marketing. So a final little bonus here. You'll never care about this until you spend your own money. And I know that you think that this isn't true. I know that you think that you can go read this ebook that I've got or someone else's book. Or in fact, if you want to go look up Perry Marshall, man, it's a $40 book. Go knock yourself up. Perry Marshall, Ultimate Guide to Facebook Ads, or Perry Marshall's Ultimate Guide to YouTube Ads. Great book, but you will never learn anything until you're spending your own money. If you like this video, I want you to like and subscribe. If you want to do an audit with your business or reach out to me on the ops side, put a comment down below. We'll connect. We'll get started. I'll see you in the next one.